Here come your heroes, leaving the Paycor Stadium field. Be encouraged, Eagles fans. Be very encouraged. Your Philadelphia Eagles seem to be hitting their stride. There's A.J. Brown. Hell of a game from number 11. My goodness, the catches he made, the run after catches he made, the way his quarterback got in the ball, and the offensive line as well. How about that? This O-line, decimated by injury, stayed in there, pass protected, run blocked. Kenny Gainwell, nice job. Jake Elliott, nice job as they leave the field. These guys there's Reed Blankenship, nice job. They were underdogs. Bottom line, depending on where you check, 2.5 to 3-point dogs. They failed to score in the first quarter again, but they stayed the course behind an offense. Lane Johnson had a lead for a play. Back in there at his usual stud self. They stayed the course behind an offense that only got stronger as the game progressed. We'd wondered about this Eagles team. There's a big difference between a 2-2 start, a 3-2 start, and even 4-2. They push it to 5-2 today with Jacksonville looming and Washington looming after that, and it all is still possible for your Philadelphia Eagles. This Cincinnati Bengals team, 3-4, now 3-5. I get it, but they had won 3 of their last 4 games. Coming in, Freddie Johnson walking off, and Barrett talked about him in the pregame program. He held his own today with no Jordan Mailata. Nick Sirianni, nice job coaching, stayed his calm self while retaining that enthusiasm. This was a strong win. Let's not diminish the value of this win today, as Cincinnati wanted to get itself back on the Super Bowl map. And they took a step backward today, and not because they didn't
take a step backward. They got knocked back.
There you go. They got knocked back.
They
got knocked back. They sure did, Barrett Brooks. And when you look at this Eagles team, it looks like a different team over the past 3 weeks as it has developed, as it has, I think, the communication. Tyler Steen, way to be.
Played awesome.
He played awesome indeed. They all did. They all played great. The young guys, Isaiah Rodgers came in when Slay went out. We'll get you an update on Slay and see what his future is, immediate future. But when you look at this, Barrett and Jaws and Rubin, this team seems to be a different team now than it was 3 games ago, only getting stronger. And maybe you can say the competition was weak the 2 games prior, but this Cincinnati team had something to play for.
I don't think it's necessarily them. I think they're just intentional about their effort right now. They're intentional about what they want to do as an offense, what they want to do as a defense, what they want to be, what their whole genre is. Who are they? Well, this is who they are. Tough, hard-nosed football. If they wanted to run the ball, they ran the ball. If they wanted to pass the ball, they passed the ball. And that's exactly what they need to be. Jaws talking about them going in and being, equal as far as the run and the pass. Well, they showed that ability today, that balance.
Yep. Barrett, I wrote down some notes the minute this game ended. We know who they are now. This is a damn good football team. Some other notes. Excellent coaching today. Sensational team win. A complete team win. Precision offense led by Jaylen Hurts, who was phenomenal. Smart, hard-hitting defense led by Vic Fangio. And you said that defense got after it. It was physical, and we beat a really good Cincinnati Bengal football team.
And I think this is the first time we've seen such a complete win since they were 10-1 last year.
Right.
They ran the ball. They threw the ball. Their pass defense was terrific. They forced turnovers. They did everything they wanted on both sides of the ball. It's been a long time since we saw that product. I think you're seeing a team that's finally getting used to its new coordinators, its new coaching staff, getting used to each other. They're getting guys back. They're getting healthier. And their stars are playing like stars.
Mm-hmm. Let me officially, speaking of the team, here is the team. Reuben Frank, Ron Jaworski, Barrett Brooks, I'm Michael Barkan, as we welcome you to Eagles Postgame Live, presented by Cure Auto Insurance. 37-17 as the Eagles put the hurting on the Cincinnati Bengals. As mentioned, they were 2.5-point underdogs, the Eagles. Vegas had them at 3, in fact, and they forget about underdog status. They look like Super Bowl contenders, which they once again are. I think you'd have to say that that's legit. You would have to say it. because they look sweet today. And Ruben, we were talking while we were watching the game. You mentioned the coaching staff and the coordinators. It seems like maybe Jaylen Hurts and Kellen Moore are more on the same page than they've been. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and it's a process, and it takes time, and it doesn't happen overnight. And Jaylen's he's had so many play callers since he's been here, from Nick at first in 21 to Shane Steichen, and then Brian Johnson last year. And so it takes a long time, and I think you're finally seeing the products of it. Kellen Moore's a good play caller. I think, he keeps defenses off balance, and it does seem like Jaylen's really responding to what Kellen Moore's doing.
It took some time for Kellen Moore to understand what Jaylen was about and all the other components of this offense. It does take time. I thought it would happen a little bit earlier. I didn't think it'd take 7 games, but we saw a really balanced offense. A word I like to use all the time when I talk about offense. When the defense does not know what you're doing, when you stay on schedule, 1st and 10, 2nd and 6, 3rd and 1 and 2, now you dictate to the defense what they have to do. This is a precision offensive game, and as you said, Kellen called a great game today.
Barrett, we criticized this team at the beginning of the season for failing to be ready to go out of the box. We talked about whether it was enough action in the preseason, whatever it was, but they have come a long way in the last 3 games, haven't they?
We knew it was going to take a while, just from the coordinators not being around these players for a full year. It takes a long time for you to learn who your players are, how you can implement your players in the system you're trying to run. Look at defensively. It took Fangio a long time to see, all right, who are my blitzers? Who are my man-to-man corners? Who are my guys that can blitz, as far as linebackers, the defensive line? How can I get these guys going in the right direction if I am blitzing? I looked at it and I saw a play where they lined up the blitz. Then they had a 5-man front. They covered the center, both guards, and the tackle. And then they brought a linebacker right up the middle. Those are 5 guys coming, and they only have 5 guys to block, and that one guy got free and influenced the play. You got to call plays like that. In fact, they end up throwing it into the dirt. Those are the type of things he's learning. Say, all right, I know this guy can get there on the blitz. At first, he was a little hesitant. Maybe not blitz. I don't know if he can get there. Well, he knows right now that they can get there. Nakobe Dean can get there. Guys can get there on the blitz. So they're learning each other and they're filling each other out. Now they're starting to impose their will on people. They're doing what they want to do, how they want to do it, and when they want to do it.
I can't overstate how much of a difference Cooper DeJean has made on this defense.
Absolutely.
That play he made on 4th down, nobody else makes that play.
No.
I don't want to be critical of Vontae Maddox. He does not make that play. So you can't be afraid, if you're Vic Fangio, to make that switch. You're taking out a guy who's been here since 2018 and putting a young rookie in his 3rd game makes that play.
Big, strong, fast,
Well, then you got to throw in Isaiah Rodgers, who makes a big play down the stretch.
Guy who didn't play last year.
Is out also. He comes in, makes a game's still in doubt. He makes a great play, and we get an interception on the play. So, everyone's, and young guys. I think that's the one thing, when I look at the tape tomorrow, I'll see the speed, the quickness, the flashing of the young players. That's what you want to see. And I think Vic is now beginning to understand the strengths that they have, especially in the blitzing game that you mentioned. You're starting to see those green dogs where, Bond or Dean they'll see that back block, and they'll go. It's green, go. And they're getting sacks and big hits in the backfield that way. So they're growing up together.
AAA MVP of this game, I think there's no doubt. It is Jaylen Hurts, 3rd straight week with a passer rating of 119 or better. He's at 132.5 for today. 16 of 20. He has 9 total touchdowns in the last 3 games. Wow. And perhaps as important, 0 turnovers.
Amen.
Which, let's be honest, had come to plague him at least a little bit over the recent past. He's been clean, 9 total TDs, and 37 rushing yards as well.
4 straight games without interception now.
4 straight games without an INT. I said this to Jaws during our Nissan In-Game Live segment at halftime. I said, can we call him a running back now? It seems like he is in the game plan as a runner, maybe not as much as Saquon Barkley, but heck, he carried the ball 10 times with almost 4 yards a carry.
And that's just more taking advantage of his skill set, more understands that in order for this offense to run the way it's supposed to run, they've got to use him as that weapon. They've got to use him in the capacity that defenses can't just sit back and tee off on this offensive line anymore. Just little things. They want him to throw a shot play. What do they do? They keep more blockers in. You know, they were able to go down the field to Smitty on the play because they kept more blockers in. We didn't do that last year. Last year we had a lot of scat protections. Scat protections is your 5 offensive linemen against everybody that comes. They could bring 7 people. You only got 5 guys to block. What do? They leave a running back in, a tight end in. Now they can stretch the field, go down there, and he can feel comfortable. Hurts can feel comfortable back there throwing the ball down the field. Those are things that Moore is doing now that they didn't do last year.
You know, in today's NFL world, we're inundated with statistics. And, Mark, you know I love this stat.
I hate statistics.
This one.
No, I know it.
No, you know this one.
Here it comes.
You know, +1 or better so far this year, about almost 80% win. Almost 80% win when you're +1 or better. You can talk about rushing, you can talk about passing, you can talk about play calling. They're all important. But the one stat that bears out most, if you protect the football, that's why when Jaylen was turned the football over, I was on him. Because I know how good he can be if he doesn't turn the football over, and how good his team could be when he doesn't turn the football over. He stopped turning the football over. What do we got?
Yeah.
Got wins.
And
got
plus
wins.
two.
Both in the fourth quarter. It's the first time they've, I hate stats. First time they've had 2 fourth quarter takeaways in the same fourth quarter since the Steelers game 2 years ago when they picked off Kenny Pickett.
Which is it's saying something. In a few moments, we'll hear from Nick Sirianni, certainly from Jaylen Hurts, and all of the principals in this big 37-17 Eagles win over the Cincinnati Bengals. You mentioned shot plays, and there seem to be a lot more of them today, a lot more. And you look at the long...
Lead the league in 40-yard plays. They lead the NFL in one fewer game than most teams.
What I liked about this one, Rube, it was designed to Smitty. It was designed to give. It was Max Pro, 2-receiver route. You know, you look one side, where's AJ? He's covered. You know you got that crosser coming from the backside. Well, he makes a great throw and a phenomenal catch. But it was designed for a big play. It wasn't just throw the ball up in one of those 50-50 catches to AJ. It was a designed big play. That's something Kellen Moore was on his A game today.
And you know why that happened? Because they ran the ball so consistently that they had to bring people in to stop that run. When you bring people in to stop the run, now you can go over the top. You know, it used to be a big thing now, the defenses, they like to have 2 high safeties to stop those big plays from coming. But when you run the ball the way they were running it consistently like that, you got to bring that extra defender down. When you bring him down, now you just got one guy that's got to control that whole field. You can't do it.
I like the fact that they use so many different ways. AJ got his, Devonta got his, Calcaterra had a couple big plays.
Yep.
Barkley did his thing. It's tough to defend. You're talking about a lot. That's without Goddard. When he gets back, that's another weapon. But Calcaterra's kind of worked his way into that rotation. A lot of weapons, and Jaylen was using them all.
And some love for that offensive line. I was really concerned about the O-line coming to this
Good
game.
for Fred Johnson.
Yeah, Fred Johnson played terrific, and they left him on that island out there, too. And
they shouldn't have did it, but they did it, and he survived. He survived. He was Gilgan, and he survived on that island. I wouldn't have did it, though, but they did it. He strapped his pants up and went out there and played.
The only problem in this game was finding shoes that could work right. The shoes are really a problem.
The shoes are a problem. It's got to be the shoes.
Trey Hendrickson.
That's going to be on every radio show now. I don't know what's wrong with these daggone shoes. We could have scored 40-some points if we had shoes. The shoes just didn't work for us.
When you look at how comfortable...
Should have scored 40. Stole that touchdown from Will Shipley.
They did on the flag. When you look at how much more comfortable Jaylen Hurts has seemed back there passing, how much is that a tribute to, 1, him assimilating the game plan better, and 2, the game plan itself with regard to running the ball? Because he's back there, his
Here's
old
the biggest
self.
thing. When did it change for him? It changed during the bye week. Since the bye week, he's been clean, and he spent the entire 2 weeks in the NovaCare complex watching film, self-scouting, and he said, I was forcing the ball. I was forcing the ball to people when they were not open, when they weren't the right guy to throw to, and he hasn't done that. I think that's the biggest change for Jaylen. We haven't seen him force one ball to AJ, one ball to Devonta, and it goes back to having different weapons, having more than one guy. And when you don't throw the ball, into traffic, you're not going to turn it over.
Here's when you're playing the team game as well. I think it's where Jaylen, besides everything you just said, he understands he now has a defense that he can play to. You don't have to force those throws. Take what the defense gives you. You have to punt. This defense can come out there now and do what they have to do. And I thought, like you said, Jaylen improved after the bye week. Same thing for Vic Fangio. I think that's when he realized what he had in his defense. He kind of tweaked things along the way. I thought he got more creative in his blitzing schemes. They all seem to be working now. He wasn't blitzing much because that's not his basic philosophy of defense, but he's starting to get after it a little bit with the blitzes, and they're working.
But also, there were a couple of plays where The rush was on him fast, and you saw him look left and right, and then you saw him, nope, I'm staying with it, and he kept his eyes downfield. And I thought that in and of itself was an improvement, and he found a receiver.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. He wasn't just looking for one receiver. And that's, when you're looking for one guy or you're looking for two guys and not looking for the rest of the field, it's really hard to run the offense because you can go through read 1, read 2. If you get to 3-3, 9 times out of 10, if those first 2 guys are covered, they're covered for a reason because now somebody has to be open. And once you get to that third read, like a Grant Calcaterra, that's when things start opening up. And I'll tell you what, Grant has good a hands as any receiver in the league and has a little speed to him also.
And you know what he does? He catches the ball in stride and doesn't lose any speed when he catches it.
Yeah.
So as soon as he has the ball in his hands, he's moving. He's fast.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, he only has 9 catches this year, and 5 of them are for 15 or more yards.
Devonta Smith had 1 catch last week for -2 yards.
He's going to hear about that
Today,
forever,
let me
those
see,
-2 yards.
6 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Here's Devonta Smith in Cincinnati.
Turn around after what happened last game. How's it feel to have that introduction out there?
Just going out there doing my job. Whether I get a lot of targets, where I get a few targets. Just to go out there and try to do the best I can to make the most of my opportunities.
What do you think led to that success? What were you seeing in the Cincinnati defense that allowed them to get open, especially in the
We knew we was going to get the one-on-one coverage, and Jaylen, he trusts me to go up there if it's one-on-one to win a 50-50 ball.
You mentioned how important it is to stay patient. You have a quiet game. Even coming out here, you said it's been a while since you've been one of these. What goes into that patience? Like the stretches where you do kind of have to withstand that.
Just trusting my training. I go out there every day. I feel that I work really hard at my craft. So you just being ready when the opportunity comes, and sometimes it might not come right then, but when it does, you have to be ready for it.
What does AJ say to you? After last week?
Same thing. It's gonna come. It happens. It be like this sometimes.
What have you seen out of Jaylen these last 3 games? I mean, he hasn't turned the ball over at all. What's he doing?
I think it just comes down to us going out there just executing. When you don't execute, a lot of that is going to happen. You're bound to turn the ball over and things like that when you're not executing. When you're executing at a high level, it takes a lot of that away.
And now we're starting to see what this offense can really look like when everything is clicking.
We're getting there.
When you look at that 7-minute, 37-minute drive there in the fourth quarter, effectively iced the game, what were you guys talking about ahead of time? What's it like to effectively make that drive and hit it?
Same thing I always say. We always want the ball as offense at the end of the game to be able to put the game away, get into our 4-minute offense, and with those guys up front and Saquon, doing the things that they do, it makes it a lot easier to do that.
On those contested catches, what would you say your edge is in those plays?
I can see the ball and they can't.
What would you say the last 2 weeks have been like for you? You have last week's game and even the first catch today goes -2. You're like, you just know that it's going to turn.
Well, today I wasn't happy when it happened. I was just like, nah, we ain't doing this again. But just like I said, trusting my training, continue to go out there, making the most of my opportunities. When the ball comes to me, make it.
What did go through your head after the -2-yard catch?
Say it again.
What did go through you after the -2?
Nah, we ain't doing this today.
What's it going to take for you to get a whistle on those catches?
I don't know, man. Everybody tell me go down, but it's hard to go down when guys are just holding you up. So I don't know, man. I hope they give me some grace and start blowing it.
Talk about them. I'm sorry.
That drive at the end of the first half. I mean, how big was that for you guys? I mean, considering also that the Bengals were moving the ball as well, and how we want to keep them off the field.
It was big because we knew they were calling timeouts, trying to get the ball back with some time, and we knew we were getting the ball coming back out. So it was real big to kind of keep possession of the ball a little bit, score, take as much time as we can off the clock, so they can't go on offense and try to make something happen.
This offense obviously has a lot of star power with new ages and Saquon. What's it do when all you guys are playing at the same time?
It's tough, man. It's gonna be tough for teams. We go out there and try to establish our identity as running the ball, and when we take our shots, when we get our one-on-ones, make the most of it. And I think we kind of know that's how the flow of the game is going to go. Some weeks that could change based on how teams play us, but I think it's a good thing when you have a running back, you have 2 receivers, you have a quarterback, you have everybody on the offense that can just go out there and just make something out of nothing.
You mentioned that identity. You're kind of trying, being able to dominate in the run game and then take the shots over the top. How different are the defensive looks you get with Saquon being as effective as he is?
It's a lot different. You know, sometimes, you know, teams do some things you can't really recognize what it is. You know, it's a lot of guys moving around. It's guys at the snap running into the box. So it kind of be hard to tell. But, you know, when we do know what's going on, you know, that's when we decide we're going to, you know, do what we need to do.
Do you feel like you can run teams out of those light boxes this year because of him?
Honestly, I don't think teams will sit there and just try to let us run them out of it. I think they'll continue to sit there, be in the box. That's just personally what I think.
Well, if you guys answer this one, sorry, can you see a difference in Jaylen's efficiency, confidence, comfort level, and if so, why do you think that is over the last 3 games since the
We're executing at a high level right now. You know, when you're not executing, you're going to have turnovers and things like that. When guys are not in the spots they're supposed to be, when guys are not, you know, doing the things they're supposed to do, you're bound to have turnovers. But right now we're executing at a high level. Guys are in the right spots at the right time, and, you know, it's easier on him when guys are where they need to be.
What happened on one play where you all three went on the sideline with a false start? All three, there was a little bit of like.
It was a little signal meeting that we need to go over. That's all.
If I can get back to the contested catches, you said you can see they can't. That's the case for all receivers. Is there something about your skill set, about your understanding of the game, whatever it may be in those situations that gives you?
I would say, you know, just drilling it. You know, we're on the jugs after practice. Amo is right there, you know, behind me, pulling on my arms and things like that. So it's a lot of reps of getting contested catches. You know, you might not get as much of them in practice, but whenever we're on the jugs, there's always someone right there, you know, grabbing our arms and things like that.
Have you seen the catch back yet?
Not yet.
I was going to ask where it ranked.
I have to look at it and see. Appreciate it.
We appreciate it, Devonta Smith. Speaking of Smith and A.J. Brown, let's take a look at Take Flight, presented by Yingling. Devonta Smith, 6 catches on 7 targets, 85 yards, 1 touchdown. A.J. Brown had some huge catches in this game as well. 5 catches on 6 targets, 84 yards. And Jamar Chase, I think it's worth pointing out, we really expressed a fear factor in this, one of the top receivers in the NFL. 9 catches for 54 yards.
11 targets for 54 yards.
11 targets.
Great coverage.
Great coverage indeed. How did they do it? What was the game plan?
Thought they're physical with them, and they just covered really well. They got some pressure, which you know, made Burrow have to get rid of the ball. Nolan Smith looks like a pass rusher now.
Right,
3 straight games with a sack. And I just thought the coverage has been, really for the last few weeks, has been elite. And, you know, Neighbors didn't do anything last week. If you can hold Jamar Chase to 54 yards, you're going to beat the Bengals.
The Eagles were getting pressure without having to blitz. So you're able to keep 7 and 8 at times into coverage. And that makes it a lot easier to play defense. Makes it a lot easier to play that way.
A big thing they made Cincinnati earn every single yard that they got out there. They had to drive the whole field. Wasn't a lot of big plays that moved the change for them. They earned it. You know, it wasn't like, you know, they were just going out there and doing what they wanted to do. For the most part, the Eagles influenced what they were doing as opposed to going the other way. This defense, they played tough, they played aggressive, they played in their face, and that's the biggest thing. That's all you can ask for guys like that.
You know what they're tackling?
Yeah, that's the big thing right there.
How bad their tackling was earlier in the year?
Oh, my goodness.
It was terrible.
It was terrible.
Going into the bye.
19 missed tackles in one game.
The only one I recall today was Zach Bond, and that just stood out because they wrapped up every other time.
You're a hater.
Yeah, no, I love Zach Bond. He's phenomenal.
That one wrong.
I can't stand it. How about this? Third down efficiency. At one point, Cincinnati was 7 for 7.
First drive.
And they're 3 for 6 after that, 10 or 13 overall. But the Eagles' third down efficiency, 6 for 11. That was a weak spot for them. Fourth down, we know about.
Well, last week they were 1 of 13 on third down. So
What I
that's
love
a huge
about
improvement.
one thing I love about defense, and Jim Johnson's defense always did this. You know, they give up a touchdown in the first drive, and everything you saw in that drive would get cleaned up.
Yep.
And that's what we saw today. 70 yards the Bengals had. They only scored 10 points the rest of the game. They only had like 260 yards after that. Vic has that ability to adjust on the fly, to make those changes that need to be made. The coverage tightened up, the pass rush picked up, and Joe Burrow didn't have many easy throws after that first drive.
Burrow, you know, you saw the long run play he had. I'm like, wow, that's just a good play. The defense were there to make the play. They just didn't make the tackle. But I tell you what, him run around like that, I'd rather him do that than to go out there and be dropping dimes like he's been dropping dimes on everybody else. So, I like the fact that they make him doing something that's unconventional to him, and that's what I mean by influencing them.